بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين ولعن الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم القيامة رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. By time, man is indeed at loss, except those who have faith and those who do righteous deeds and enjoin one another to truth and enjoin one another to patience. One loud salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Brothers and sisters, it's a real honor and privilege and it makes me very happy to be amongst you today and seeing so many young people, young faces here. I met some of the team and it was very impressive to see so many young people taking part in this small gathering that we can remember our beloved Imam. Now in the beginning we will make dua for our respected Maulana Niyaz Hussain Naqvi, who is behind this youth team and encouraging them and taking them forward. In fact, I sat in his office and saw the really wonderful books there, and I implore you, I encourage you, I ask you, request you to go in there and see those books. Just pick up one and flick through them. May Allah give him a long life and bless him for all the hard work that he's done. Secondly, I thank the organization of the youth, the Khuddam al Mahdi group, this youth group who has invited us and many other scholars to come and to try and deliver a little bit about the Ahlul Bayt so that it may enter the hearts of the mu'mineen here, mu'mineen and mu'minat here. We make dua that, oh Allah, you are all hearing, all seeing, all knowing. We ask you to hasten the reappearance of our beloved Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Oh Allah, we ask you to protect the Muslims who are facing hardships all around the world, in Nigeria, in Iran, in Iraq, in Syria, in Palestine, in China, in Myanmar, and all the other places around the world where Muslims are being oppressed. Oh Allah, protect our scholars, our esteemed scholars, and especially our leader. Oh Allah, elevate our youth from amongst us to the ranks of the awliya, the most sincere followers of Islam who have elevated themselves and reached proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, we ask you to cure all the sick. Some of our brothers who are not well, they've asked us to pray for them. We ask you, oh Allah, to grant marriage to all of our youth and all those elders who seek it, because it's not just for the youth, for the elders also. Oh Allah, we ask you to grant knowledge to all of our youth. May you help them gain and acquire knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Oh Allah, may you grant them that which they do not even know to ask from you, but you know better that this is what they need and this is what they deserve. I request the brothers and sisters present to recite Surah Fatiha for all of the souls who have departed from us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salawat bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So brothers and sisters, when I was requested to speak here, I had to think about the topic and the topic suggested was about taqwa. And taqwa is something very crucial. We hear it all the time. When you come to Jum'ah, the Maulana is always talking about taqwa because it's recommended we have to talk about taqwa on that day. So we want to establish a little bit what taqwa is. And also the notion of it is that when you are somebody who's practicing taqwa, you become muttaqi, or you're trying to attain that level, then during that time you have to be practicing what you know. So we're going to touch on this. But also because we're in this blessed month, we're in this special night, and which is linked to Imam Ali alayhi salam in this gathering here, the brothers, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala, the brothers have put this event together for the sake of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So in that case, these are the three things that we'll be covering. One, specifically to do with Ramadan and this holy night. Two, about Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then our connection to taqwa and this holy verse that we read from the Quran. So the first thing is that Islam, in its essence, Islam is not a religion for the rich and wealthy or the elites or anything like that. Islam is a religion that is based on the foundation which serves all of humanity. Even the Quran says the Quran is not just for mankind, it's for the jinn as well. We have jinn that are Muslim. So Islam is for everyone, it's all encompassing. It protects the poor, it helps the needy, it helps those travellers, the wayfarers who are far from their cities. It helps the orphans. Many a time we're told about the honour and the respect and dignity of the orphans and how we should honour their property. So in this holy month, Islam is telling us, God is telling us that do iftar with others, invite others, get close to one another, share with others the breaking of the fast. So this is something very special for us. Muslims get this. Sometimes I joke with my non-Muslim friends that I said, have you been to an iftar? Just tell, if you're a teacher, I used to teach, so I tell the other teachers that speak to your Muslim students and tell them, hey, you're Muslim, you haven't invited me for iftar. Because we love to do this. We love to invite people to our homes because of the barakat that they bring with them. The other point that I wanted to mention is that Islam does not favour anybody. And this links to our topic of taqwa. The Islam does not favour anybody. You be Arab or Ajam, you're Arab or you're non-Arab, you're rich or poor, different colour, different creed, male or female, young and old, rich and poor. There's no distinction in Islam. So nobody has distinction. We see this. We see this when we go to Hajj in Makkah. We see everybody is together. Everyone's wearing the same clothes. We see this in the masjid when everybody gets down and prostrates on the ground, rich and poor together. Everybody is there. So this is the notion, this is the idea of Islam. But there is one distinction. And that distinction is taqwa. And again, for many of you who are still wondering, what is this T word that keeps talking about taqwa, taqwa? And Maulana keeps talking about taqwa, taqwa. We don't understand. So we're going to get to this. But that's the only distinction. Those who have taqwa, they are higher than those who do not have taqwa. Not about age. You could be a 15-year-old and have taqwa, and you'll be elevated higher than people who are 50, 60-year-olds and they've been worshipping all their lives. In relation to this month, the Prophet peace be upon him has said that Allah has established a fast in order to remind us and remind the rich of what the poor have to endure. So again, Islam is bringing a balance. Islam is saying, look, the rich and the poor, everybody has to fast. Everybody has to experience this hunger. The Prophet peace be upon him also said in another narration that no poor person feels hungry except due to what the rich are enjoying. And just think about that the poor people, they have to experience hunger because of the rich people, and they're enjoying themselves and they're not hungry. Now, I'm not talking about within our community. I don't see any super wealthy people, but I'm talking about the 0.1 percenters, the one who control most of the wealth of the world. Now, the difference between them and the general worker who's basically struggling to make ends meet, there's a vast gap between them, vast gap. And this fasting reminds them, even the super wealthy Muslims, they're reminded that there are people out there who are suffering, who don't have what we have. So brothers and sisters, in this holy month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in relation to this, He's told us that look, when we look at the different significant events, we look at, for example, Friday. Friday is given prominence, is given elevation above the other days. Friday is a day which is elevated above the other days. The month of Ramadan is elevated above the other months. And Laylatul Qadr, the night that has just passed, where we're told to stay awake, and even to the extent we have, that we keep our children awake in this night. That we encourage them to stay awake, because this is the special night, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But this night is better than 1,000 nights. It's better than all other nights. And also in this hadith is mentioned that the Quran is better than all of the other books. It has been favoured by Allah over all the other books. Now all of these things that I've mentioned are heavily linked with the events of today and the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So one side note I want to mention, that when we talk about the revelation of the Quran, there are two types of revelation. One revelation happens in the month of Ramadan all at once, that is delivered to the Prophet peace be upon him. At once. Everything goes to the Prophet peace be upon him. The whole Quran is revealed and it goes to him. So there is another type of narration where revelation over the 23 years of the Prophet's prophethood, and maybe more than 23 years, that the verses are revealed gradually. So an event takes place, for example Ghadir takes place, and then the verses are revealed that are related to Ghadir. One loud salawat please. So this night of Laylatul Qadr has several characteristics that are useful for us to understand, and inshallah we have 2 more nights, so it will prep you for the other coming nights. Assalamu alaikum. So in this night, according to Imam Rida alayhi salam, salawat, this is the night when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees everything that's going to happen in this year. So all the births, all of the deaths, all the famine, all of the sustenance that people are going to get, all the good and the bad that's going to happen in that year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees it in this night. Because sometimes it happens that we give sadaqah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes His decree accordingly. So for example, it is said that if a person is going out and his decree that he's going to have an accident and he gives sadaqah, then Allah will change that. So in this special night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives all the decrees. And it is said that the angels and the spirit and the scribes, they descend to the lower heavens and they write down whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. Another thing that's interesting and that had happened in this night of Laylatul Qadr was the Mi'raj of the Prophet peace be upon him, which happened in 2 stages. One was called Isra, where from Medina to Bayt al-Muqaddas in Jerusalem, the Prophet peace be upon him is taken on a heavenly creature, a horse with wings, Buraq is called. So he's taken on a journey from Medina over to Jerusalem. From Mecca to Jerusalem. And the second part is the ascension from Jerusalem to the heavens. So this happens on this night. So the second significance here. The third significance is that Hazrat Isa, the son of Bibi Maryam, he ascends to the heavens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes him up to the heavens, takes him towards himself. The other thing that happened is that Hazrat Musa and Yusha bin Nun, who was a prophet after Hazrat Musa, both died on this night, on Laylatul Qadr. One more event, a little bit further in the history, and our Prophet peace be upon him on this night, on Laylatul Qadr, he sees a vision. He sees a vision of the Bani Umayyah climbing onto his pulpit, onto his mimbar. And he describes it, it makes him uneasy and very unhappy. They say they're climbing on the pulpit like monkeys. Hazrat Jibreel descends and he sees the state of the Prophet peace be upon him. And he inquires, why does the Prophet look so upset? The Prophet said, tonight I had seen a vision of the Bani Umayyah ascending to my pulpit and having misled the people from the straight path. So this also happened on this night. Now several years later, another event happens on this night, which is the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So this is our link, because I wanted to build from Ramadan and Laylatul Qadr, and also the link here with Imam Ali alayhi salam is that these are the special nights that we commemorate his martyrdom. So brothers and sisters, before we talk about the martyrdom of our beloved Imam, which happens in 41 Hijri, I want to go back just a few years, about 30 years before, and just talk about the events that took place which kind of led up to his martyrdom. What was going on? Why is it that Muslims are killing Muslims so early in the advent of Islam? When Islam is newly formed, what's going on? What is happening with the Muslims? So if we go back 30 years from the Shahadat of Imam Ali Islam to the year 11 Hijri. And this year 11 Hijri, I've missed his birth, his miraculous birth in the Kaaba. So as all the young children, they know that Imam Ali is born in the Kaaba. So we skip all those years. We've come to the year 11 Hijri. The 11th of Hijri, the 11th year of Hijri, is the year that the Prophet peace be upon him passes away and leaves this world. So this year specifically for Imam Ali Islam is the biggest challenge and is the saddest year for him. Because not only does he lose his brother, his master, his prophet, his leader, his guide, his teacher, his father, his cousin, his everything. Not only does he lose the Prophet peace be upon him, but he also loses his life partner, the Lady of Light, Bibi Fatima sallallahu alaiha. So around this time we had the event of Ghadir, where the Prophet peace be upon him, he introduces Imam Ali alayhi salam, and famously he says, wherever I'm the master, this Ali, he is the master. So they have somehow construed the meaning of the word or tried to reduce the significance of the event by attaching it with some other events, but nevertheless, at least 110 Sunni narrators have mentioned Ghadir. So after Ghadir, about 70 days after Ghadir, because the Prophet peace be upon him announces that I'm leaving, 70 days after he passes away. He passes away and leaves this world. And about 90 days after the passing of the Prophet, our beloved Lady of Light, she leaves this world also. So what happens is this, that the news of the death of the Prophet reaches the Muslims. The Muslims gather, a few of them, a handful of them, 6 of them gather in a place called Saqifa. They amongst themselves, without consultation of the Muslim Ummah, without consultation of the Ahl al-Bayt, without listening to what the Prophet had said in Ghadir, they decide amongst themselves that we're going to make this person the Khalifa, amongst 6 of them. So this news reaches Imam Ali alayhi salam. He finds out that they have conspired and they have established one person, they've made him the leader, and they've gone and done this. So at that time, Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Bani Hashim, they're busy with the burial. So one person comes to the aid of Imam Ali alayhi salam, very happy, I can help you, I can help you. Who is this person? Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan, through his whole life, has been fighting against the Prophet. He's been abusing our Prophet, he's been attacking Islam, he's been torturing all of the Muslims, he's had many wars against the Muslims, and then when Islam is victorious and they take Makkah without a battle, he's forced to become a Muslim. Now he's living there and he's so-called Muslim. So he comes to the aid of Imam Ali alayhi salam. None of the other Muslims are there. He comes, I will help you. I will help you. He says that your right has been taken away from you. Tell me, and I'll fill the streets with cavalry. We'll give you right back. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, since when have you been the friend of Islam? Since when have you been the friend? You are the one who was creating conflict amongst the Muslims. And you always try to harm Islam. I don't need your sympathy and I don't need your help. In fact, brothers and sisters, we know that Imam Ali alayhi salam's patience and his endurance during this difficult time when they took his right away, where the Prophet had announced him as his successor, on not just Ghadir, but on many occasions before that, in this difficult time, Imam endured patience, which is one of the things that we talked about in the verse that I read in Surah Asr, about patience. Now, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he had mentioned to Imam Ali alayhi salam that your status is like that of the Kaaba, that the people go after the Kaaba, but the Kaaba does not approach the people. Therefore, after me, after my death, if the people come and they give their oath of allegiance to you, then accept it. If they do not, then do not go after them. So this message of the Prophet, it actually gives us an understanding of why Imam Ali didn't rise up and pull out the sword and start trying to get back here. Why didn't he accept this person's invitation about the cavalry filling the streets and attacking the Muslims, taking the right? Imam Ali knew that a civil war was imminent because some of the munafiqeen were there. We have verses of the munafiqeen, they were there in the city of the Prophet. On the one hand we had the munafiqeen, on the other hand we had the Jewish tribes that were surrounding there, and on the third front we had the Byzantine in the north, the Byzantine troops in the north. So they were all ready and waiting and seeing what is going on, what is going to happen to Islam. They were ready to pounce. Imam Ali decided that he would not allow anybody to attack Islam in this way. So what did Imam do? In his patience, for the first 6 months after the demise of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, Imam Ali remained in his house. And what is remarkable is that he wasn't just sitting there and thinking, oh God, they've taken my right, worrying. Sometimes when it happens to us, somebody's taken our right, we all sit perplexed for months. We'll have stress and anxiety for days upon end. We won't eat, we won't... No, Imam Ali went into his house and he began to write, he began to compile. He completed the whole Quran in 6 months. He collected all of the narrations related to each and every event and put them together with the verses so people understood the context of the revelation of each of the verses. But unfortunately, when the 6 months had expired, Imam Ali came and he presented this Quran. He said, look, this is the Quran with all of the extra commentary from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that I've managed to collect. They said, no, it's too bulky. It's too much. It's too much for the people. The people are simple. It's too much. So the Quran we have is enough. What a shame that was for us. What a shame that was. We see all these tafasir. I've seen in your library you have tafasir. That they explain the verses. And the greatest of all tafsir we've never seen. Nobody's ever seen. So that tafsir, Imam alayhi returned to his house with that tafsir, and after him he went to Imam Hassan, and then to Imam Hussain alayhi and then to the other members of the Ahl al-Bayt, and right now that Quran is with Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So brothers and sisters, in this difficult time from 11 Hijri, the first 6 months Imam was in his house. This period was for about 25 years that they had 3 different leaders and they were selected in different ways, but for about 25 years During this time, Imam Ali alayhi salam did not really partake in the military affairs. He didn't fight any battles. But we know before that, up until the Prophet's demise, Imam Ali alayhi salam was the forefront of every single battle. He would kill the most people, he would be the most influential, he would be the strongest commander. He'd be the one that everyone was looking, the flag bearer. Time and time again it was him. But for the next 25 years, he's taken the back seat. He's doing some agricultural work. He's a farmer. He's looking after orchards. However, they would still consult Imam in religious affairs. He was still available for advice. And he felt that that was his need. He was still the top jurist in the Ummah. Amongst all of the companions, there was nobody at his rank when it came to passing judgments. The second Khalifa famously said that when he mentioned to the people that when Imam Ali alayhi salam enters the mosque of the Prophet, then nobody should precede him in answering the religious questions. It was known that Imam Ali alayhi salam had such high knowledge and wisdom. Now I'm going to give you one example of this, just to put into perspective the elevated status of our beloved Imam. That once a group of Jewish scholars, they came to the second Khalifa and they said that if you answer these questions, then we will become Muslim. So they were scholars themselves, they had some special questions. So the Khalifa said, go ahead, ask the questions. Imam Ali wasn't there, so go ahead, ask the questions. But the questions were tricky. I'm going to mention the questions. The first question was, what are the locks and the keys of heaven? Question 2, which messenger was neither a human nor a jinn? Third question, which are the 5 beings that were created without the aid of ovaries? Question 4, what are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? What are these? So these are the 4 questions. So the Khalifa thought for a while. He said, I'm not going to be able to answer these ones. Let me take you to somebody who is the most knowledgeable amongst us in the commandments of Allah, and he is the greatest amongst us. So look at how he introduces the Imam. They know, even though they've taken his right away, they are ascended to the Khilafat, they still know he is the best amongst them. They testify that themselves. So brothers and sisters, these individuals are brought to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Imam, he asks the questions and then he responds in this way. It's the locks of paradise, the locks of heaven and the keys of heaven. The locks are the belief in more than one God. Shirk. When you believe in more than one God, they are the locks. Sometimes there are different degrees of shirk. Sometimes we have shirk within ourselves. Maybe a lower level of shirk. They are the locks, the padlocks of heaven. They will prevent us from entering. The keys are the letters La ilaha illallah, Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. And Nabuwat, the belief in the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. The second question, he says, the messenger who warned his people, but was not from the humans or the jinn, was the ant who warned of Hazrat Sulaiman's army coming. He said, enter your homes, otherwise you'll be crushed by this army. The third thing, the 5 beings that were created without ovaries. Hazrat Adam, Bibi Hawa, the staff of Hazrat Musa which turned into a python, the camel of Hazrat Saleh that came out of the mountain, and the sheep of Hazrat Ibrahim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent as a ransom for his son Ismail. The fourth question he answered, 1 is God, who has no partners. 2, Hazrat Adam and Bibi Hawa. 3 are the substances that we see, non-living matter, plants and animals. 4 are the heavenly books, Torah, Zabur, Injil, Quran. 5 are your daily prayers. 6 are the days of the creation of the heavens and earth. 7 are the number of heavens. 8 are those angels who bear the heavens. 9 are the 9 signs of Hazrat Musa that were sent by Allah. 10 are the 10 days that were added to the 30 days that Hazrat Musa spent on mountain of Tur. 11 are the brothers of Yusuf. And 12 are the springs that came from the rock that Hazrat Musa struck with his staff. The Jewish scholars, on listening to this, they all converted, they returned to their town, and they converted everybody else in their tribe to Islam. Salawat bar Muhammad wa So brothers and sisters, from the year 11th Hijri, for 25 years these khulafa came and went. Now after 25 years, the death of the third amongst them, it meant that the people were desperate for the justice and the equity of Imam Ali alayhi salam. This time Imam Ali alayhi salam was overwhelmingly elected and taken as the 4th Khalifa. The Imam himself was reluctant to take the position because he already had a great status in terms of Islam. But in order to protect the Ummah and bring it back to the path of the Prophet, he accepted. See, he said famously that Imam Ali said that the value of this Khilafat is less than the sneeze of a goat. I mean, it's worthless. It's worthless. Because he was already a guide and an Imam, and people would come to him, they would honor his wisdom. They knew that he had this status already. And this was something well established in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. On the first Friday, on the first prayer that Imam Ali led in the mosque of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the companions, you know what they said? They said, this reminds us of the way that our Prophet used to pray. After 25 years, the Imam Ali has come back and he's presented the Islam that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had tried to express to the Muslims. But unfortunately what happened during this time is that some of the Muslims, through their excessive wealth, or this accumulation through conquests of this country after country, they had gone into this state of feudal lordship. They were very, very wealthy with hundreds of thousands of gold coins, like the pre-Islamic era. Imam Ali warned them time and time again against this excessive wealth. And brothers and sisters, we should be very clear about this, that the wealth and the fame that is projected in our minds through the media, this is false. We don't need this. We don't need this. We want to be famous amongst the inhabitants of the heavens. We don't want to be famous amongst the inhabitants of the internet or of these games. That's not where we want to be. So, unfortunately, during Imam Ali's time, in the 5 years, or less than 5 years, 4.5 years that he's the Khalifa, there are 3 wars that go on. So immediately Muawiyah persuades Talha and Zubair to rise up against Imam Ali. They leave, they go to Mecca, they attract they entice one of the Prophet's wives to go with them. They end up in Basra, they raise an army to fight against the Imam. Imam comes and he fights them. Talha and Zubair are killed by their own troops, and this lady who was the wife of the Prophet, which I find difficult to even talk about her name because of this ridiculous action, that she is taken with the utmost respect from Imam Ali because she is the Prophet's wife. She has a link with the Prophet. She's our Prophet's wife. So with the utmost respect, she's sent back to her house with her brother. Now, what we see in this is that a person, or several of the companions of the Prophet, they were confused. They didn't know which side to go with. Do we go with Allah Zubair, the companions? Or do we go with Imam Ali as his also companion? Where do we put our allegiance? They were confused. Imam Ali says something so profound, so useful for us. This is very important for us. He says that truth cannot be identified by looking at men. You don't say, oh, look at this man, he's a very good man. Truth must be with him. Two people there. Truth must be with him. No. Imam's saying truth cannot be identified from men. If you find truth, then you will find the deserving person. So brothers, this is a very pivotal thing about truth. That we are those people who want to be with the truth. We shouldn't outside try and present this picture which is not the reality. The second event that takes place, the major event, is the Battle of Siffin. And in the first instance, Muawiyah enticed other people to do his dirty work. This time, he attacks the Muslim state himself. He raises a huge army, and there is a battle that takes place in Siffin. Here, some of Imam Ali alayhi salam's own side, they desert him because they are being bribed from Muawiyah. So this happens even today. We see people, they change because of bribes from people who are more wealthy, people who have power and influence. Say, hey, come and do this thing, we'll give you some money, we'll give you some popularity. We have to be aware of this. That as Muslims, as followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, we do not do this. So Battle of Siffin, unfortunately, thousands or tens of thousands of Muslims lost their lives on both sides. It was a stalemate, it was indecisive, there was no winners and no losers. It was just a huge loss of Muslim life. Now during this time there was an arbitration, a sort of a truce. They sent people from each side. Imam Ali sent somebody and Muawiyah sent somebody to try and make a peace treaty. And from then a third group established themselves called the Khawarij. Now the Khawarij began to loot the Muslim villages and cities and killing the men and the women and children. So the third battle of Imam Ali alayhi salam in his 4.5 years was in Nahrawan against the Khawarij. Now the Khawarij, all but a few handfuls, some say 9, some say just a handful of Khawarij are left after this battle. But they make a plot. They make a plot to assassinate 3 people. Imam Ali alayhi salam, Muawiyah and Amr ibn As. They want to wipe them all out and start a clean slate. Now the attackers, they go out and try to do this, but the only one who is successful is the attacker of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And before I talk about the actual martyrdom and our young brother recite the Masa'ib, I just want to touch on one point about what Imam Ali alayhi salam said when he was leaving this world. When he was struck, he said, Fastu wa rabbukul Kaaba. He said, by the Lord of the Kaaba, I've succeeded. I've succeeded. Now after this enduring 25 years and the 4.5 years, and then he gets, comes to his deathbed and he says, I have succeeded. Now brothers and sisters, the verse that I chose, Surah Asr, it talks about, indeed man is at loss. What's the opposite of loss? Success, right? Success. Lose and succeed. Or lose and win. Success. So Imam is saying, I've become successful. In that verse it says, indeed man is at loss, except those who have these qualities. So in fact the surah is telling us the successful ones, the ones like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, are the ones who have these qualities. And they are faith, that's Iman. So Iman for us, brothers and sisters, we have faith in God, Tawheed. When we go into the madrasas, we learn about Aqaid. Tawheed is so pivotal, so fundamental to us. Everything hinges on Tawheed. Our scholars say, if you understand Tawheed, everything in religion becomes easy. If you understand that your actions are for Allah and only for Allah, you understand the magnitude of Allah's commands, everything becomes easy. Your Iman has to be strengthened. The second thing they say is righteous deeds. Righteous deeds. That's doing everything for the sake of Allah and living for Him and dying for Him. Brothers and sisters, we're told in your practical laws, we're told Salat, Sawm, Hajj, Zakat, Khums, Jihad, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahy anil Munkar, Tawalla, Tabarra. These are wajib things. So we have to enact Amr bil Ma'ruf, do those things that have been requested from us, in fact commanded. In all affairs we're told to be truthful. Brothers and sisters, we have to be truthful to ourselves. Even in the small things. When we make commitments, you have to honour those commitments. Our prophets, our Imams taught us this, that being truthful is the essence of a Muslim. When people see you as Muslims, they don't come rushing to you because of your beautiful beard or your wonderful scarf. That's not why they're attracted to you. They love the truth that's within your hearts. They love that truth, that connection that you have with the muttaqi, with those people who are pious and have piety. So let us show other people the essence of Islam by expressing truth. All the time Muslims should be truthful. And the last point in this verse is about patience. We see the patience of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And brothers and sisters, patience is not something that you do when everything is easy. You can't say, well, I'm just sitting here and waiting, I'm being patient. Well, I'm just patient. No, that's not being patient. Patience is something that you do in the face of hardships. When you have a test, when you have a challenge, when you have somebody who's violating you, taking away your rights, that's when you express patience. When somebody spits on you, that's when you express patience. This is what it means to be patient. When somebody would throw rubbish on the Prophet, patience. Many of us, we can't control our tongues. We can't control our actions. We have to have patience. So brothers and sisters, in the last few minutes we will conclude with the topic of taqwa. That in essence what our purpose in life is to gain proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are here temporarily. This is a very short life that we live, and our ultimate destination is the hereafter. It is said that he who knows himself knows his Lord. So one who knows himself, he knows his essence, he knows what it is to be a human being, he knows what the qualities are, what the attributes are, and what human beings should be doing. He knows his Lord. That's what we want to do. We want to come to know ourselves. We have to elevate ourselves, brothers and sisters. Allah has made many creation. He has made many creatures. Animals, for instance, are given intellect. The angels that have been created by Allah, they have been given intellect. Angels have been given intellect. But they do not have desires. The animals have been given desires, but no intellect. Human beings have both. We both have desire and we have intellect. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us halal ways to fulfill our desires. Food, recreation, procreation, all these things that I won't translate because it's not necessary. But Allah has given us the means. Unfortunately, if we do not use our intellect, if we just go on desires, we'll be lower than the animals. But if we practice taqwa and we use our intellect and we fulfill our desires according to the tenets of Islam and how Allah has presented them, we are even higher than the angels. Yes, brothers and sisters. We will be higher than the angels. The best of all creation is mankind. The best. But we have to prove ourselves in this test. We have to elevate ourselves even higher than the angels. Brothers and sisters, this taqwa that I've been talking about, very simple. Very simple. There are different levels, but very simple. The first level of taqwa is to practice all wajib things. That's very simple. Everybody understands that, young and old, you want to be muttaqi, you want to practice taqwa, do all the wajib things. That's it. That's what it means to be a muttaqi. Somebody who's pious means they're doing the wajib things and avoiding the haram things. That's it. Simple. The simple key to our life, being a muttaqi and somebody who has taqwa, I will do all the wajib things. And this is what I meant by practice what you know. You know many things. Everybody here knows we have to pray 5 times a day. Everybody here knows we fast in the month of Ramadan. Everybody here knows that we avoid alcohol and we avoid pork. Everybody here knows that we don't associate with the opposite sex unless you're married or they are mahram. Everybody knows this. So practice that. Everybody knows that we have to keep a beard. Everybody knows that ladies have to wear a hijab. So let us practice what we know. The wajib things, you practice them. Haram things, you avoid them. You are a person who has taqwa. It's very, very simple. It's an easy step for us to follow. Just practice what you know. And when you're doing it, just do it with the intention of gaining proximity to Allah, gaining nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Encourage one another to go and do this good deed. So and our job is to get to the mission of the Prophet, and this is what they were doing. They were showing people the way of having taqwa in their lives. Brothers and sisters, we have to face hardships and we have to answer them with the utmost patience. In the end, brothers and sisters, on this night, on the night that has just passed, the 19th of Ramadan in the year 41 Hijri, brothers and sisters, our beloved Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he enters the masjid for Fajr prayer and he begins his prayer. He performs 2 rakat and 2 sajda. From that moment, Ibn Muljam, he brings out his concealed sword and strikes the Imam. The sword of Ibn Muljam will deprive the world of that person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and the Prophet loved. Imam Ali alayhi salam lived for 2 days, and in those days he dedicated his will, he dictated his will to his son. He said, love God and obey Him. Live for the service of people in the way of Allah. And do not forget to set apart the best time of your day for the communion with Allah. The life of this greatest warrior saint was taken away to his merciful Lord.
Allahumma